Hey guys, my name is Gabe. I'm one of your hosts, and
I'm Chris.
today we have an awesome plan to do for you for Halloween.
Halloween episode.
I am super excited. I love this holiday, but we are gonna do another top five this time.
Yes, we
But
are.
it's gonna be horror games. So that's a
Excellent.
pretty. I wouldn't say small spectrum. I'd say it's a pretty big spectrum of games that we have. So there's a lot of different things and themes and genres.
And remember, some people have like difficulty deciding between thriller and horror, but we like to almost lump them both together because they both kind of trigger those fear.
If you can sit down and have fear in different ways of shapes or forms, I think playing a game, then it's usually horror unless it's like one scene or something very
Yeah.
specific.
It has to
So
be an overarching theme of the game.
yeah, but definitely an overarching theme of the game. So do you want to explain the rules?
Yes,
How
so
it
the
works?
rules of how we're going to decide this is there are dice in this little coffin thing here. We're going to each roll. Whoever gets the higher number goes first. And like our other top five, we just go in order.
It's gonna be
It's
very,
dice because it's Halloween. Otherwise, it would be
a
a
coin
coin
flip.
flip like usual.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
excuse me, Mr. Skeleton. You can grab your dice. Let's see the rolls. Let's get a 20. I got 11.
You got an 11.
Yep, he's gonna beat me. 16.
All right. So wait, that means I go first.
That means Gabe goes first.
So
So let's get up with number 5.
number 5. So technically, we don't own all the physical copies for some of our games. I think we were saying.
Yes, all mine I have digitally, or I play digitally at a friend's
Play
house.
digitally, yeah. So the first game that I actually have on the list today is a very popular game in terms of multiplayer. It's called Dead by Daylight.
Oh, I thought about it in that.
Yeah. So I put that on my list because I love horror movies. And I love playing with friends. I think it's a very fun thing to do when playing games. Like, why would you not want to, But I don't know. I think, in my opinion, the game makes a fifth place spot for me because I think it makes the fifth place is because it has a good roster of characters that I love. Yeah, there's a lot of legal issues and different things like that. But, I mean, that's bound to happen when it comes to licensing other characters from different series. So
Yeah, my issue with Dead by Daylight is it's just as competitive and fun as it is, the horror kind of goes away after like the first time playing it. Especially if you're playing with friends, because like they're coming after you. It's almost a joke. If you're playing random match with random people, it could be kind of scary, especially if you're playing a stealth killer. Like there are sometimes Ghostface made me jump, but compared to other games on this list, it's not like true fear. It's more like because it's almost like you're safe.
yeah.
You know it's a game, it's that. Well, some of these, you feel like one of the actual villains could just creep up behind you and just end it all.
Yeah. Well, I think for me that roster is what gets me in the fact that it's like I love all these horror villains and it's still obviously considered a horror game, but I think for me the reason why I can't put it above the community, like, and this is a multiplayer game thing. When you play games like that kind of takes away from experiencing a game, especially since it's supposed to be a horror game. I mean, there are times still when I play to this day, I get jumped sometimes
Yes.
when something comes out of the camera that I wasn't expecting it, or I hear the heartbeat and there's little intense moments. But other than that, I think the scare factor is not quite there.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I think then it is a good game. I want to say it out there. I personally play it a lot with my friends. My friends that will be watching this video, you could actually comment. Tell us how much we play this game. It's usually a thing. I know my friends got a little TO'd about when they removed Dead Hard though, because that was like their thing.
that was a very big thing. Yeah,
A
with
very
the
broken
perks.
ability too,
Yeah.
if you use it right.
Well, let's hear your number 5
All right,
actually.
so at number 5 we got Until Dawn.
I've heard great things about that game.
So, Until Dawn, there are a few reasons why. And it mostly comes down to choices you make. That's the fear factor. Like I said, more like a thriller to a lot of people, but it is fear. Because when you first find out, or when you first open up, it seems like it's going to be a murder mystery, almost like who done it, who murdered character X or whatever. But it's a choose your own adventure. And the villain ends up being the Wendigo, a part of Native American mythology. I think, right? I think that's what it is.
That's the Wendigo's terrifying.
Yeah, it's
Anytime
like the whole reason they come to being is like when you're trapped on the mountain. If you have to resort to cannibalism, that's how it triggers, and it's such like a creepy thing. And like their whole design, they have like no, they have like hardened skin. They're all bald. They lose. Sorry, my man. They sorry about my mess. But they lose all their tattoos stay, but they lose
Yeah.
like hair. Their teeth like sharpen, and it's just so creepy.
The Wendigo's the one that has like the moose head, right? I
What?
think is it.
Not in the game. I don't know about in mythology.
Cause
I'll pull up a picture of how it looks in mythology, and then I'll compare it to how it looks.
anytime I look up an image of that thing, I am terrified.
It is a
It
freaky
looks,
concept.
it looks like I would if I was in the woods and I saw that, I wouldn't know. Like I probably would go into shock. I think, to be completely honest.
It's just like if your first time playing it, the reason why it gets so scary is you don't know obviously the Wendigo's coming. You don't know that. It just seems like a murder mystery, and then it's just all the choices they make and the fact they add in the totems, which add element of fear to them because they just show you a brief glimpse of outcomes. So you know how you get them. You don't know what you have to change, and you're just like, did I do this right? How did I get here? What did I do? And that whole fear of just making the wrong choice.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I kind of like that. That's like a gameplay aspect. You know, being able to one have fear in the game, obviously, but fear of knowing your characters are going to die, or like that you're like I want to keep them alive. I love this character, and then
to
they
be
die.
fair,
And you're like,
to be fair, in that game, there's only one character that's really likable, and it's the one who Hayden Panettiere plays. I forget her name off the bat of my top of my head. It's been a while since I played the game, but she's like that character is the only redeemable one because like she was like the one that didn't want to bully her friends that ended up dying. While all the other ones were doing like typical high school drama stuff where it's like, oh my god, he likes her boyfriend, so we gotta prank her. It's just like
it's very campy.
it felt like summer camp vibe.
Yeah, so like an '80s horror movie.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, I like that
I'm
style
surprised,
though.
I'm surprised Jason didn't just come out from Crystal Lake and walk up the mountain.
Yeah, I mean I love those movies. So.
Yeah, good movies.
Yeah.
But it's just mostly the fear of unknown of what you're doing
Mm-hmm.
and that.
I
So,
guess.
like, if any of you have yet to play it, please do. There's this actually not direct sequel or anything, but in, I guess, another game made by the same company, The Quarry, which is another good game. That's the same fear factor.
Yeah.
So if you played that and enjoyed it, you'll like Until Dawn.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So I mean,
If you want to move on to your number 4.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
But wait! There's more!
before I did, I want to mention why I made number 5 as and not higher on the list. It's because other games on the list, they have more like fear, as in like, oh my god, I'm gonna die, instead of like, oh my god, these characters are gonna die. Like, especially my number 1. We'll get there. We'll get there.
It's more like watching a movie
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
being put on the spot where this is
Yeah.
you in the position. I get that.
It's like watching a movie and be like, why did she go through that door, even though you were the one that
Yeah,
picked it.
it's like a what is it called? Outer perspective. More
Yes.
than an inner.
Anyway, let's move on to number 4.
So for number 4, I started off.
For that song.
Yeah, the leopard. Oh, with the 3 fingers. Yeah. So my number 4, I actually don't own a physical copy of the game, but I own like books for it.
Oh.
Yeah, I own like books for Corpse Party.
I forgot about that game.
Yeah, I think
I've
it's
never
really
played
fun.
it, to be fair, though.
No. So for me, Corpse Party is one of those games that I just truly enjoy.
Oh, Mr. Hand!
The hand fell. It's okay.
Mr. Hand.
I truly love the. Hold on. I'm gonna fix this hand quick. So, for me, Corpse Party is one of those series that there's a lot of games because there's a lot of books too. There's a lot of like the manga series and stuff.
I've seen it Let's Played by someone, and I was frightened. It
It is very terrifying for the what is it? The
Japanese horror
engine
games
was
hit
made.
differently.
Well, it wasn't even like a very well created game at first. It was very simply made. It was done like
It almost looked like it was an RPG maker.
yeah, that's what it almost looked like, an RPG maker type game. And the story was very campy. I remember, and I love reading manga and stuff. So it is a very good comparison to something in the horror series that I love that was originating from a game. It was definitely a game before all that.
I like the many different endings. There's I think 8 characters you play. I think as each, at least in the first game, you play as each one at least once.
Yeah.
Some of them are guaranteed to die if you go the true ending route. So it's not like that one where everyone can survive or everyone can die.
Mm-hmm.
Like Until Dawn, it's one of those games where they have a preordained path, which is one of the reasons why it's a little less scary on subsequent playthroughs.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it's the first playthrough that usually gets you. I think it's like you start the game and it's a little terrifying because it starts off kind of like innocent and then it gets scary. I mean, it doesn't look innocent as soon as you start the game. Like the menu is very, it passes the message.
But but like once you actually start the game, it's the Japanese high schoolers and teacher.
Mm-hmm.
They're all like, "Oh my God, let's do this little ritual that's supposed to make us friends forever." Or actually, no, that's a different game. But it's like, "Oh, let's do this ritual and let's see if this ghost story is real." Like kind of like Bloody Mary in the U.S.
Yeah, all these different concepts. Yeah, and they do it, and it's obviously going down the gutter. And
some people die. You literally Some of your characters go insane. Moshirige.
Yeah. Some of the characters go psychotic, and then a lot of them have like gruesome deaths. But the way it works, the mechanics of the game, it's like you're almost like fire red Pokemon graphics. Like you're walking around like that, up down the hallways,
Pokemon as the
going
main
through.
characters.
Yeah. Oh God. But like you if you make the wrong
Charizard
turn,
in like a Japanese schoolgirl
yeah. There's like so many deaths the characters can have. Like oh my God, that sounds terrifying.
There's a lot. Some of them like, sorry to cut you off, but one of them is literally, this ghost like stares at you, and when you stare at the ghost, what he ends up doing is he ends up having your main character like swallow scissors, and it describes it to you.
Yeah, it's very. It's very messed up. Yeah, it's like almost very grim. I was like, wow, like I was not expecting it when I played the game. I was not expecting it. But it was fun. I truly enjoyed it. So I just think the only reason why it wouldn't go above number 4 for me is because it's very linear in terms of gameplay. Almost like playing a visual novel with movement and stuff like that. And a lot of fear factor. Yeah, and I also haven't played many of the spin-off games, so that's another thing that can't elevate my number for it. It's like it's there because I played the first one, I played a little bit of the other ones, and like I've read the books and I have a concept there. So
it is a good. It's a nice little like fright.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't played it, try it, or look up a Let's Play. It's really good.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a fun game. Highly recommend it.
It is a little dated though.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
I think it beats Dead by Daylight though, still for me.
Oh yeah, in my opinion too. I think it's more frightening than Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's hear your number 4.
Okay, my number 4. Oh boy, there's actually back-to-back of games in this series, but the first one for number 4 is Resident Evil 3 Nemesis.
Really? Okay.
The original.
Okay, the original one.
Not the remake. The remake isn't scary. That's just more. That's just garbage. That's a garbage game.
I heard,
$60 for like 3 hours.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate.
Yeah, sorry, James. I know you really like this game. Shout out to James. But it's basically one woman thrown in Raccoon City at its peak chaos, and you might think, okay, Leon and Claire did it. How hard could it be? Well, you got like this like 7 feet tall, creepy zombie thing that just says one thing: stars.
Yep.
And he just pops up at random places, and he could be lurking around the corner and you don't even know because the fixed camera angle, like we referenced when we were talking about Resident Evil 4, back from that video, that fixed camera angle where you're just like walking slowly back and it's fixed there. So you could be walking forward, he'll be waiting right here. And as you walk, the camera changes and he's just right there. It's like a jump scare, and then also like it's almost like that meme.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it makes sense why that game would be up there. Well,
Yeah.
just in general, the Resident Evil series before it got very action based were very terrifying since the first game.
The tank controls just kill you.
Yeah, they do. I mean, but that's like, I think that's part of the fear factor.
It is.
Back then, it's like it's very what is it? It's like limitations. It's like, you know, in real life when this happened, what's the first thing you would do? Would you stand there? No, you dip. But with certain camera controls, you're able to do that in like a second flat. This game, you have to back up, turn around like the tank, and then go, because you can't walk backwards fast. It's slow, and I think that to me adds with the fixed camera angles, using your sound cues. Like you're walking down the hallway, like you said. He says stars. You know, Nemesis says that. So if you hear that, then you know he's somewhere in the area, but you don't know exactly where if the camera's not showing you.
Yeah.
So I think that's amazing.
I really love that though, to be fair, and I like also somehow they would have the high pace of decision making, where it's like, oh, run away from Nemesis, fight him there, and you're just like, I have a pistol to my name. What am I gonna do with a pistol?
Yeah, like the dude's.
He just eats your ammo. He's just a bullet sponge.
He's the bullet sponge, and it makes you think like, what possibilities am I gonna run into? And then when you're running away from him, like it's just very difficult, because whatever the developer puts as an obstacle for you, whether it's an explosion or a car getting in your way or a pack of zombies, because obviously this is in the middle of Raccoon City when you know all this stuff is happening.
So that's another thing. Like the zombies are there. Like people forget. You know, Nemesis is this big jerk that is just gonna follow you to the ends of the earth. But you still have the zombies to deal with. You still have other people to deal with.
Are the lickers in them too? I think.
I don't know if lickers are in Resident Evil 3.
I forget.
Because I saw a Let's Play like a few months ago. Because I haven't played it since we last played it together.
On PlayStation 1.
PlayStation 1. We actually have the physical copy here.
Yeah,
think,
we
right?
do.
But
Yeah.
the reason why it's not going to be shown is because, well,
we
don't have like an actual case.
Case
just
for it.
the
It's
disc.
just the disc, and it's like in a little thing.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But it is a really frightening game, and the reason why it's above Until Dawn is because that just the tank controls, the creeping factor. It feels like almost you're in Jill's shoes, especially with Nemesis, and just hearing stars and him just pop out the corner. You're like, oh.
It is terrifying. It is
Yeah.
actually terrifying. It's so hard to manage, but no, that game does an excellent job of keeping you in a fear factor.
Once again, try it. I prefer it over the remake.
Yes, I think it
The
is really
remake
good.
did my boy Nemesis terrible.
I know a lot of people
He's so
don't like.
predictable.
Yeah, I know a lot of people don't like going back to the retro games, but I truly think that those games still to this day are just very terrifying.
If you don't have the means, at least look up a Let's Play.
yeah,
Or
that's
something on
definitely
YouTube.
Yeah, they're really
Very
cool. They're very awesome like games, I think.
So let's move on to your number 3.
So, for my number 3, I actually own the physical copy, and it's also a Resident Evil game. It is Resident Evil Outbreak, actually.
Okay, another Resident Evil game.
Yeah. So Resident Evil Outbreak, for me, makes the list because I have a lot of nostalgia with the game, and yes, it is also. Excuse me. The fixed camera angles from Resident Evil 3. It's the same thing with the fixed camera angles. For me, I think the reason why I would prefer that over like Resident Evil 1 or Resident Evil 3, even though those games I think are more terrifying, this game has more of an impact for a game that I enjoyed playing. And there's a lot of characters to play. A lot of characters. I think there's like, I forget how many. It's like 10 or something like that. And that's a lot for a game where you could play that character for each of the 5 chapters. And each chapter you can get different people out of that roster. Because the way it works is they're all together in the scenario. Technically, they're all supposed to be alive at the same time, but, you know.
Obviously, for gameplay reasons,
Yeah,
that
there
would
can
be a
only
little
4
strong.
people at once. Otherwise, it would be too much for the game to actually
Imagine
handle.
10 people with pistols trying to take down one zombie.
It'd be so easy.
Yeah.
It would be very easy.
If they remade the game, that would be pretty fun. Like
I would
co-op
love
game.
them to remake Outbreak,
But I think it's more of a cult classic. I don't think it's
Yeah.
really. It didn't really blow up like any
like
records or
any
sales.
of the main games and stuff like that. I mean, it's better than their shooter stuff that they've done.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like all the bosses are so cool. They're callbacks to other games, a lot of them, but there's some of them are kind of like their own thing. Like the was it that sludge like monster that comes through like the vents and stuff in the hospital?
No.
Or like even like the part where you're in the streets like Raccoon City, because that's where it takes place pretty much. It's another Raccoon City game.
Yeah.
Just not anything related to the main characters. It's all different stuff.
Which I like, because obviously the base games just show like almost 3 characters escaping it.
Yeah.
Oh, 4 if you count little baby Sherry.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Wow, baby Sherry.
well, not baby, like a little kid, but
Yeah.
it's still, it's one of those things where it's like it adds more sense, because not only 4 people are going to escape that entire city. There's going to be more that just wandered out early or at the start of it or on the outskirts of the city or whatever. So it makes sense to show like more of those stories.
Yeah, it was like a different perspective, and each of those characters have more lore to them too, like, which I think is pretty awesome.
They're not obviously part of the big 4, Leon, Chris, Claire, and Jill.
Claire, Jill, yeah, like those types of people everyone knows.
Not even on the level like
Wesker, Ada, all those people.
Ada's probably one of my top 3 favorite Resident Evil characters.
But yeah, I think that it passes those other games for me because I've played it so many times. I love the game. I think I've noticed its flaws as I played it more. So looking
Nostalgia
at
factor.
the nostalgia factor of how much of an impact it made carried the game a lot. But I think it is a good game. I do recommend it for a lot of people out there. It's not easy. I will say that the first chapter is like pretty easy, but as soon as you get to the second one, it's like a skyrocket of difficulty. The puzzles get a little tougher and stuff.
What's a Resident Evil game without its puzzles?
Without its puzzles, yeah. Capcom loves doing those.
It makes sense. It works.
Yeah, it works. It adds intensity to it.
Yes.
Yeah, because then not only
and it also kind of provides you like a little break between just killing zombies.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially since the scenes fit it very well. But let's hear you.
So my number 3 is another Resident Evil game.
Oh wow.
Wow, there's a lot on this list. I wonder why. But this one takes you to Louisiana. It's called Resident Evil 7 or Resident Evil Biohazard. 7 Biohazard. There's 4 main reasons why this game is scary. It's a mother, a father, a son. 3 reasons. Oh, and Evelyn. Those 4 reasons make this game really freaking scary.
Mm-hmm.
The bakers themselves. And not only aside from that, the eerie environment, and you just feel so helpless in first person. Think about it, in first person. No Resident Evil game before that has really done that. Or at least mainline one. I don't know about some of the side games because I haven't played all of them. But it just changed expectations, because I never saw any of the trailers going before I played 7. I just knew it was different. That's all someone ever told me. He's like, oh, it's different than 6. And I was like, oh, well, 6 was pretty alright. I just hated how it removed the horror elements. And he's like, oh, you're going to love 7. So I remember booting it up and I just was scared.
Yeah, everyone I know that has played that game has always told me how terrifying it is. I actually never got to playing 7 or Village yet. But I know those games are on my list. I've seen clips and I've seen is it the scene where you're going down the stairs and it's like pitch black and then something starts crawling up the stairs?
Yes, that's in the beginning of the game, and that really set the tone of the game.
Yeah.
Because you just feel like just this one man stuck trying to save his wife, literally in hell. You just had the worst day. Once again, Resident Evil game that takes place in the day. The worst day of your life.
Mm-hmm. A lot. He gets there's gore. He gets brutally hurt. I know there's some injuries that are hard to even watch in the game.
He doesn't. And the thing is, the reason why he's one of my favorite protagonists is he's not like Chris Redfield who can punch boulders and has stars trainings, or Jill who has star training, or Ada who's literally a secret agent, or Leon who's part of the Secret Services.
Secret Service.
Yeah. So it's just All of them have this special training. Ethan Winters is just this one guy who got a clip from his wife saying not to come somewhere, and that's where she is. And she was missing for, I think, 3 years.
Wife gone. Think about wife. Regret.
He goes to find her and just gets put in the worst situation ever.
Wife fight back.
There's literally just this immoral dad being that just stabbed this guy through his head with a pitchfork, pulled a gun straight to his mouth and blew his own head, and then got right back up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's terrifying. And it's all in a house, right?
All
it's
in
one house.
all in the little plantation house area.
The plantain, yeah.
So it's not just the house, it's like the little surrounding area.
It's so terrifying.
And then if you hate bugs, Marguerite is like this whole bug boss, and it's just creepy. There's
Yeah.
also like the old VHS tapes that show like Clancy, who's like a person that came before the Baker House. He was part of this like ghost TV show, and he was like the cameraman.
Mm-hmm.
And he like goes through the experiments and stuff that the family puts him through.
That's crazy.
And then Lucas is just himself. He's just this crazy psychopath that puts everyone through like these games, he calls them. While it's like, oh, like this birthday cake will explode. It's like almost like he's putting you through saw traps.
That's gruesome. I could see why that game blew up. It's like it brought fear back to the series. And
Especially with they also have VR for it too. I
Yeah.
never played VR, but that would
VR sounds like a death wish.
Check me out,
You really gotta prepare for something like that because the game's already terrifying as it is. Just looking at a TV screen, VR is definitely worse. Because I don't know, being this guy Ethan Winters,
Winters. Yeah.
being that guy Ethan Winters like would be horror. Like that day would definitely just cause so much trauma, physically
everything, yeah.
and emotionally. I don't know the ending. Don't spoil it for me, but I hope it goes well for that dude. So.
well, he's in 8, so he's in Village.
Oh, okay. So he's
good.
living. That's good. That's good to know.
Let's move on to your number 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Number 2.
2. So my number 2 is I'm gonna say series for this one
Okay.
because
Do you have the physical copy or
no, I wish I did. It's the Walking Dead Telltale series games. So I don't know if you've noticed, but I love zombies so far. Just from the conversations we've been having, I'm telling it's a very common theme with that.
MBOWs from other Resident Evil games.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is? Zombies are a very good scare factor for games and a very common one over the years. But I love the Walking Dead games. I love the characters throughout each game. I think that each character has, it's like, okay, this is why I like this character, or this is why I hate that character. And yes, it is kind of a visual novelty like type game with a little more agency, like moving around and solving puzzles and stuff. But it can be very terrifying, I think. Obviously, after you play it the first time, like
Same reason for Until Dawn for me.
yeah, like you'll know what happens and stuff. But
Yeah.
to me, I'll replay those games and still have a wonderful time.
The choosing the story and all that really does that.
Yeah.
The only thing about Telltale games for me, though, is it just feels like the story is kind of preordained for the most part.
Yeah.
Like, there's minor choices you can make to change some of the dialogue and how people react to you, but other than that, it's always going to go down one path.
It tends to keep the choices very similar. There's like a few things that change, like here and there, depending on your decisions, like getting your arm cut off or things like that. And obviously, it doesn't sound like it would be a minor change, but
In the
you
grand
know, in the
scheme of
game,
things, it is a
in
minor
the
change.
grand scheme of like how the game plays out, it ends up being a minor change. That's in the first one.
And probably one of my top 20 characters in gaming is Lee.
Yeah,
the first one.
Lee is an excellent character. Very well done from the beginning of the first one.
He has
to
a
the
well
end.
arc. He has a really good character arc.
Very good character art. And I mean, obviously, it's a Telltale game. The presence is, there's gameplay mechanics, but the story is what is the main driving factor. And, like most cases, the horror is, it's a zombie apocalypse. And if you guys ever watched the TV show or things, a lot of the time it's, packs of zombies that are more terrifying than the one. It's like it's those moments where things are very quiet, but you have to be quiet, so you're not knowing where any of them are because you don't want to know where they are. And then when something happens, like someone drops something, you bump into something, an accident outside out of your decision making happens, weather, anything. There's so many different factors that can add into it, and that's it.
And about that, like the whole, like one of the reasons why that game just gets like so like scary is because it's not only the zombies that make it scary, it's the people. Like what people do. Like, spoiler alert if you never played the series, but I think it's in chapter 2 where you're on the farm.
And in the first one.
Yes, in the first Telltale Walking Dead, I think it's season 1. In chapter 2 of that, you literally have a guy get his leg cut off because he gets injured. This family that's taken you in, you're starving, you need food. They get rid of his leg and they feed you his flesh.
Yeah.
And if you're too late, Clementine, this little girl, ends up actually taking a bite of the human flesh. If you're too slow running to get up to her.
Yeah. Or if you don't say anything in time, because when you're in the way that the interactions are, it's like a time sequence. When you have your decision, you see like a little bar going, like shrinking to the center, and then if you don't say it like before you'll see her putting it in her mouth while the decision's being made, and it shows your interaction. No, I think it was really cool. I just thought the game did an excellent job. But let's hear yours.
So my number 2 is scary because you play as this little child who has to deal with scary animatronics. That is Five Nights at Freddy's 4. The creepiness in that game is ridiculous because you're just a small child running around the room. You hear him shuffling with this flashlight as your only defense. And the way you could get jump scared, with jump scares, everyone can make are scary. At least the first few times you can. Then it gets a little boring. Yeah. But that game keeps it fresh by, you don't obviously see them coming towards you. You have to hear. You have to hear the breathing sounds, and sometimes it's very faint, so you can't even hear it. So you'll just be like, okay, things are good. Flash the light, you get jump scared. And their designs are so creepy. They're like withered. They're like, I don't want to actually say that because some people, this community gets very like specific about the names of it. But they are the animatronics. They're like almost destroyed. They're like
there's a lot of them
decayed, and it's because of like the imagination of a child how freaky they are.
Yeah, It's terrifying. And they're even doing a movie for it and all that stuff. There's a lot of games. How many are there? Like, but Security Breach being like 6 or 7.
I think it's 8 or 9. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I've actually never played them. I've only watched gameplay, and they're horrific. They are actually like very gruesome like games.
When I first watched them, I was like, oh, this ain't scary, I could play it. And then when I actually played it, it was like, no, this is actually really scary. Yeah. Especially the fourth one. The fourth one and the first one had that like element of fear to them. Yeah. Some of the other ones are like, okay.
It's like the camera scenes and all that, like just having to check those things out to me.
And then like having to manage each different one. Like there's the left door, which has Bonnie, the right door, which has Chica, or I might have them flipped. I don't know. I'll double check. But then there's Foxy in the front and Freddy in the back. Yeah. And you have to constantly jump between each 4 of them before they get you, before they attack you. And it just, you have to picture it as like you're a little child. You're just afraid. Your only weapon is a flashlight. So just the pure helplessness where you're just like, I can't do this.
Oh man. It's just, it's very like intense moments. You're sitting there, things are happening, and you have to react in time, because if you don't, that could just be the end of your game over. Yeah. So those games, the reason why I think that fear factor is there is like, they're scary looking, but the intensity of knowing how close you can be to messing up everything.
And the reason why it's above some of the other games on this list is, until Dawn, you still feel like you have that element of control, and you're kind of removed from the fear factor. Number 4, Nemesis. You're obviously dealing with that, but it's obviously as it ages, it gets less and less scary because of just the bad graphics. Yeah. It's just downside of age. Yeah. But then we got number 3, which is Resident Evil 7. The reason why that game is a little lower on my list is because you have weapons. You feel like you have a little more control fighting the bosses. Like, you know, like you're fighting the bosses or fighting the enemies, and you have that element of control where you're able to back up, you're able to dodge, parry, heal. That, you're just dead.
Boom, bam, bop, bada bop, boom, pow.
Anyway, let's move on to your number one. So, number one.
Number one. So my number one is a very good survival horror game in space. It's called Dead Space.
Damn it, we have the same one.
We have the same one.
We have this same number one. I knew this was going to happen eventually. I think I said it in the first episode. But I was like, eventually we're going to have the same, like, number one or something, and it's just going to be like that.
Well, let's go more in depth on it, because I love that game. I actually, I have the physical copy.
Yep.
Here.
Right here. But this, we mentioned this when I was talking about Dragon Age in our first top 5, but that and Dragon Age were the first 2 games we had on PlayStation 3.
Yep. Dead Space was the one I played a lot, while you played a lot of Dragon Age. And,
he would make me sit and watch Dead Space with him.
Yeah. The thing is, that game was... Obviously, after you beat it the first time, there's still, like, times where it's scary, but it's you know, it has a fear factor throughout most of the game, and it's just very cool. It's intense, very interesting moments, because you're one guy in space, you know, and you have to kill aliens. Like, that stuff's awesome. So, you know, and the scenes are very good, the lighting's good, the hallways are good, like, everything is just... It's quiet. Like, there's a reason it's called Dead Space.
Yes, and just that whole sound design they chose of pure, like, silence, aside from when an enemy comes, because they want to give you a cue, because they can just pop out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And the jump scares are few and far between. But you might think, oh, then why is it scary? Because the atmosphere. It feels like a jump scare could happen at literally any possible second. Mm-hmm. There could be someone just coming up behind you. You could be in a safe room, saving the game, and it feels like someone could just pop up behind you. They can't. But it doesn't help.
It's happened to me actually once before.
Really?
I don't know if it was in the first Dead Space though.
Uh-huh.
But it's happened to me before where I was saving and I turned around and then something just came at me. I was like, what?
And the enemies, the necromorphs, creepy. Because they're literally human beings that mutated.
Yeah.
And they have like pincers, they have a whole bunch of stuff. It's really creepy.
And already, space is already a very scary concept. And, you know, being in a very, being in a very unfamiliar place, and then when you're on a spaceship, we obviously as humans don't know what that's like, being in a giant spaceship that is like Star Trek size, by the way, the Ishimura. Because while you're on this thing, there are doors are broken down, vents are broken, there's blood everywhere from all the people, like corpses, and you know, you'll just be walking around and you hear pitter patters, and it's definitely not a rat because it's something a lot bigger. And you know, the scenes where there's fog rolling through and all the lighting, and then like the alarms going off.
Once again, put yourself in his shoes. Then the sequel, he has PTSD. I wonder why.
Yeah, he has PTSD in the other games. It's pretty like obvious like why he has PTSD.
Yeah, because he's not like trained for this. He's not a soldier. He's not a super soldier. He's an engineer.
He's literally an engineer.
His first weapon is a wire cutter.
Yeah.
Or a space cutter.
Yeah. Yeah, literally is meant to just...
Plasma cutter.
Yeah, it's like what? It's meant to literally just cut down machinery and wires so they can fix it as an engineer. And imagine you're going on a space because you hear a distress call to fix equipment. Obviously, you're like going around making sure the spaceships are in you know...
Well, he was also there for his
condition.
girlfriend.
Yeah, so he also knew that his girlfriend was there at that location. There's like a whole story behind it, but... You know, you go to this ship and it's literally dead. Like there's no voices, anything. You and your little posse split up because of some crazy event, and then that's it. You're on your own, and you already know something's wrong because you've seen one of the things already. I don't know, that game.
Just the pure fear and helplessness. You could have all these weapons and you still feel lost because it's obviously a spaceship. It's not like a city where there's obviously buildings, but there's still that wide open space that you could still see where enemies are coming from. Like and especially in the remakes of like Resident Evil 2 and stuff, there's still that wide open space you can see enemies. But in that, it feels like they could come from literally anywhere, any moment, because you're walking through this hallway in a spaceship. They could just pop up right below it from a vent. They could pop up, down, left, right, turn a corner, and you're just dead.
Imagine
Just
like
have fun. Have fun, kid. You're gonna have nightmares.
imagine like the hull of like a cruise ship, except
Yes.
instead of like that, there's like vents all over the ceilings and the sides, and it's like all made of steel and like iron or titanium, whatever metal they would be using for that spaceship. But that, and occasionally you'll see like a light passing through a vent spinning. You'll see luggage on the floor. You're gonna see all and basically anything that is set the tone. And you know, there's some parts in the game where it's more open. But
Yeah, and then you even like see like human bodies like chopped up or whatever, and then you see like blood written on the walls and messages, and you're just like, oh my god. And it's also kind of mystery because you're like, what happened here? What caused this? Like, and then you also, if you're him, you're like, where is my girlfriend? Is she dead? Is she one of these? Am I potentially killing my girlfriend's mutated corpse?
yeah, it's hard to tell. They all look very similar, and you know, I think it's like their hair falls off and everything, so you can't really tell with that. Their facial structure gets distorted.
So creepy.
Yeah, and all the bosses, by the way, there's a lot of bosses in that game. Each one is very unique in their own right. And there's different types of enemies. There's like the traditional ones, there's different ones. And you basically, the way it works is you shoot their limbs off. Like that's the way you have to fight them. Otherwise, like they have more power than you. They do. They're just bigger. You know?
They're literally like the superpowered undead creature, and you're just an engineer with his tools.
Yeah, well, space gun. Pew pew. That's not even really a space gun. It's a
Space tools.
Yeah.
And just the biggest thing about it is just the pure fear you feel playing that game. The environment, everything down to it. You just feel so helpless.
It's very
And
overwhelming.
And the UI is minimal. Like, it's very minimalistic, and it works.
Yeah, your health bar is not even like a thing on the screen except
It's on the back of the character.
It's literally on the back of the character. It's like just part of his suit. Like it's like a little bar, and you see it start going down, and it goes up when you heal. And the same thing with his kinesis.
Yeah, but I like how it's so minimalistic because it adds to that fear rather than just having the health bar and you're just like, okay, like I can see my health deteriorating. It's like, no, you have to look at the back of his head, and it just, you're literally left alone to your thoughts and whatever you're looking at.
Yep. Yeah, and then it makes you think that's what he's doing, especially in the vacuum of space parts where you have to actually like float in space,
Like
not die.
Yeah, I know. And also think about it this: like in Raccoon City, you're in the city from hell, but you're also like there's obviously other cities around. There's other humans. You could get to them easily. And that you're stuck on that ship. That's your only way in. That's your only way out. Good luck. Survive. Have fun.
Yeah. You, at least in a city like that, you have a comfort of places that you have seen before. But obviously, for us looking at a thing in space, it's like completely brand new. It's like when you play a regular space game, you see a ship, you're like, oh my god, like I never seen this before. It's so cool. Now put that in with a place you don't want to be, then it becomes very uncomfortable. So
anyway, we had fun talking about this horror games. Happy Halloween. Stay safe. Have fun. Dress up. And obviously, if you couldn't guess it, I'm Batman.
Yep, and I'm Crocodile.
Yeah.
So
anyway, but please remember, like, subscribe.
Yeah, make sure to share the video and also hit that bell on the side if you want notifications. Yeah, and then the ding sound. You know, because we want to share the community, but we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Anyway, I'm your host, Chris.
And I'm your host, Gabe.
Peace out.
Logging out.